Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and I'm so sorry that I'm late getting started. I'm 5 minutes late. I haven't been this late, and I can't even remember how long. So really sorry. It was just crazy. I had, I don't know, like less than 10 minutes before we're supposed to start. Somebody called, and I had to go meet them. And when I was on my way back, my boss came into my office, and so anyway. So I can go all day without anyone talking to me at work, and then for whatever reason in the last 10 minutes I had two people have to talk to me. So, oh well, that happens. So hopefully it didn't annoy you all too much. But today we're going to work on a different component. So we need... I don't know if y'all remember, we had a component that was a page for all the faculty profiles, and I'll show you in a second what everything looks like. And before, we were pulling in all this markup that we had gotten from the old database, just a bunch of HTML formatted like as is, and we did our best with some regular expressions to change some of the markup and with CSS to make it look good. But we had said we're just going to do this kind of hacky stuff because we don't have time to go back through each one of these pieces of content and actually change the markup. Well, now that I have some student workers that are just flying through every task that I give them, which is awesome, I decided, like, all right, well, now I do have, people that can do this, so I'm going to have them do this. So I went through and I made custom fields for all the different pieces. So like the title, the person's name, their title, their phone number, their email, their like a PDF upload for their curriculum vitae. So we have all these pieces broken out now. So when you try to pull in that data, it doesn't look right anymore. So we need to grab those pieces individually and display them as we want. So it's not going to look completely different from what we had before, but it's definitely going to be nicer. So that's what we're going to work on today. And I think we got a good shot at getting it done. I'd like to finish up definitely before 1, because at 1 p.m. we have that Alexa skills live stream starting. So I don't want to stream during that in case... I'm sure some of you all may want to watch that, so I'm going to try to end before then. Okay. Just going to check the chat and say what's up before we get to the code. All right, Steven says, thanks for messaging me back. I have a lot to think about. Oh, you know what? No problem. Yeah, no problem, Steven. If y'all didn't see, at the end of the last stream from yesterday, I showed off a bunch of Steven's websites that he's been working on, and they're awesome, really awesome. So if you get a chance, check out the last, I don't know, 10 minutes or so of yesterday's stream, and check out. You see some, I think, really good examples of websites for what was this, like some hotels and apartments and things like that. All right, let's see. All right, so we got a question about laptops for beginners. I'm going to answer questions after we do our first coding session, so just hang in there, and I'll talk about that. I see in the chat some others are giving you some good answers there as well. So if you want to hear what I have to think, I'll tell you later on in the stream. But I may not have better advice than the other people in the stream, though. Alright, let me show the code. There we go. Alright, I just want to start out by thanking Chris Brown for this pull request. So in our documentation, we just said to run npm dev, and for some reason I thought with the newer versions of npm you could just do npm dev and you could leave out the run, but maybe you can't. Maybe I was mistaken. I often use yarn, and to tell you the truth, when I do use npm, I always include the run, just out of habit. So I'm not sure. Either way, it's good that we change this to say npm run dev in case somebody's running an older version of npm. You know, it'll still work for them. So thank you for that. I went ahead and merged that in. And anyone else is interested in submitting pull requests, if you see something that's messed up in one of the repositories, we have a lot. You can check them, you know, check them all out. Anything in this FUS-Marcom, you know, feel free to go in here and check them out, and you can open an issue if you just want to point out something that's wrong, or you could actually, you know, submit a pull request and, you know, have a good chance of getting it pulled in. You know, it'll be something nice for your GitHub portfolio if you're interested. Also, I do have my own GitHub profile for some of my personal projects, so feel free to browse through there. A lot of my stuff's also, you know, open source and free for anybody to use. So, sorry, I got distracted by the live chat. So anyway, just putting that out there that, you know, there's a lot more here and on my portfolio that don't make it on the streams that we've been doing lately. So we have like Electron apps, React Native stuff going on, so a lot more stuff. All right, let's go over here. Well, let's just say we'll navigate here to the faculty. So we have our education faculty, right? And we will need, we're actually going to need to change this as well now that we have the data displayed in a different way. But right now, let's go to Dr. Susan Poyo. I know Susan and her family, and she's awesome. So we're gonna go here. I actually help maintain the website for her husband, her husband's website. So cool. So what we have here, actually, I think I just figured out another task that I could give to the student workers. Might not be a bad idea to get rid of these details sections. So we'll see. Once they get through what I gave them earlier today, then I'll give them that one. But for now, you can see it's missing a lot. We used to have a photo here and some information and a link to a PDF, all gone. But if we check out in WordPress, let's go back to WordPress and let's find this same, so let's go, this same professor. Look, we can see that we have all these fields. So we have an image now that's under the featured image. Oops, I forgot to start my timer. Let's start that now. So we have a display name. So this is, I guess, small distinction, but kind of important. When the title of the post has the last name first, which is good, I think, for when we're sorting things by alphabetical order and trying to find it, that'll make it easier. But the display name, we want it to be nicer, right? And it's always nicer to have your name in the right order. So we have this display name now, and this allows for some customization. If a certain professor prefers to have maybe like all their degrees or titles or something afterwards, then that's changeable, and it won't really affect, you know, the official name or the slug, because that's separate than how it's displayed. We have a field for job title, phone, email, and then we can upload that CV. We also have this search field. So this is going to help us out with our search feature that we haven't quite finished yet. One of the biggest problems that we hadn't fully solved was, how do we know what page these pieces of content are going to? Because we have a lot of pieces of content in WordPress, all these custom post types, that don't necessarily equate to a single page on the site. And not only that, but since we have that router function in our server.js file, it's not always clear what the URL should be just from getting the data from the post. So the solution, at least the solution that I came up with, was every single post of all the custom post types is going to have this field, right? So this search field, and in that search field, we'll put in what the URL to the actual page is supposed to be. So then when this piece of content comes up in a search and you click to go to the full page, it will take you to this page. And that's also going to help for pieces of content that may not actually have their own page. So those sample courses that we were working with yesterday, those won't exist on their own pages, right? The course schedules. Those will always exist mainly on the program page. They could potentially exist elsewhere, but primarily what we'll want to do with those is put the link to that program page, that major or graduate program or associate's degree, something like that. It'll link to there. So this is going to make finishing up that search feature so much easier. I mean, that was the main issue that was left for us to solve. There's still some other things that need to happen before that's ready to go, but those are all things that I'm really confident that we can solve. All right, so the rest of it you can see is just whatever was left over. All the content is still in this large content editor spot, and it looks like it's still a bit of a mess. So I'll probably need to do a little video of me going through one of these and cleaning it up, and then give that to my student workers so that they can watch the video, learn how I want it done, and then go through all the content and remove a lot of this junk. So, you know, all the details tags, all these, you know, spaces, right, between there. So we're going to assume we're not going to mess with this stuff and styling this, because we're going to assume it's going to be cleaned up. Probably get cleaned up today or by tomorrow morning. So all we're going to worry about today is getting the stuff in here and this image displayed on the page properly. And if we have time, we'll go back through as well to that faculty list where we display the names of all the faculty of a particular department, and we'll make sure that the correct info displays there as well. All right, enough talk. Let's code. So first things first, let's pull in the latest updates. Git pull. I recommend starting your day out or anytime you open a new project throughout the day with a git pull, just to make sure that you have the latest changes. If you're working off of a fork, update your fork from whatever the original repo is. That way, it could be a mess if you start working and then later on find out there were updates. Then you're going to have to fix merge conflicts, and depending on how many conflicts you have, that could just take up your whole day. And that happened to me last night with the React Native app that I'm working on, and it was kind of disappointing that I didn't get very much done because I had to work through all these merge conflicts. Okay, major, we're not going to be working with that. We need to work with faculty. Yep, so faculty.js is what we're going to work with, and if we have time, we'll also work with faculty.list.js. All right, great. So you can see right now, not really a lot going on. We just pulled things in as is, but we can now get rid of a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to leave for now this, because it's possible that there are some images within the body content of some of these profiles. I haven't seen it, but it's possible. So let's leave that in for now. We can take out the whole thing with our CV. And then for now, the details page, let's see. The details stuff, it looks like we still should be taking this out to be honest with you, that's kind of weird. Let's double check that. So we do have, oh, you know what? Because we're doing it case sensitive. I believe if we change this to case insensitive, it'll actually change this. So it'll just look nicer for now. Like I said, I'm gonna have that fixed, but this should work. So if we add that I, it'll make it case insensitive. Great. And then in terms of, you know, this piece here, that's totally fine. What we need to do is add in a few things. We can also remove this regular expression. Let's see if we can get rid of anything else. I don't think so. Okay. Let's take a look in graphical what data we're going to get and how we can get to it. So let's see, instead of menus, we're going to go to faculty. Let's see if this will be enough to get us what we need. Great. Faculty node ID title link. We don't need a link right now. ID, we don't really need the ID either, do we? Let's copy in what we're getting already. So we should have a query. Where's our queries? Where am I? I'm missing these. Where is it? Data? No. Lib? There we go. In the lib folder. Okay, so here's our queries. So we can go to faculty. Are we using which query are we using here? Profile. Okay, so we're using the profile query. Yeah, so let's grab all of this just to get a realistic picture of what data we're bringing in. There we go. All right, so this will show us what we're actually getting, and this is it. And let me get rid of content because it's just taking up a lot of space. So we're going to get rid of content, and then now we're going to add in, what should the field names be? Might be able to just check here actually. Let's check faculty, and then we can get a list. And faculty. Edges. Node. There we go. Now we're at the right place. Alright, cool. So we have our CV field, so we'll definitely need that. We need our CV field. We need our... Alright, we're going to have subfields for this one. So... class, field ID, group ID... value? Alright, let's try value for this. Value. Okay. Go back. Alright. And this, so for people who aren't familiar with GraphQL, this is just a tool. Graphical is just a tool to search through your GraphQL content. So you just put in your endpoint up here, and then you can actually just kind of step through your, they call it your schema. So that's what we're stepping through to figure out what all our options are. And it's a lot faster to do it in here than to try to put it in, save it, like in our code, save it, refresh everything. Maybe it's an error, maybe it's not. So this is a lot faster. So once we get the data we want showing up here, we can just copy and paste that into our project, and we are going to be pretty sure that it's going to work. Okay, so we had that. Let me go up again. Author, content, date, display name. There we go. So we want display name. And do all of these. I bet all of these need value. Okay. Kind of annoying to have to do value for all of them, but it's not like we have to type it in anymore. We type it in once, we have it, we'll copy and paste, and we're done. Niki says, graphical, love that autocomplete. It rocks. Yeah, for sure. It's so useful. So you see the autocomplete's actually finding the fields in the schema that work. So if I start to type something and I don't see anything come up in autocomplete, I know that it's the wrong thing and it's not going to work. All right, so where do we just get display name, email. So that email field. And then featured image. So we're actually going to be using the featured image now. And I'm definitely going to have to go in. Let me throw in job title just before I forget. Value. I think that's all we need. So for the featured image, let's go into media item. All right, there's a lot here. Source URL. All right, we could do source URL. I was hoping that we could find some of the how they break in. WordPress will automatically break an image down into multiple sizes. So I was hoping we could take advantage of that. I'm not seeing anything like that here. It's just Okay, so I'm guessing either source URL or URI is going to be what we need. So let's throw them both in here and see what we get. All right. Okay, so each one of these is going to represent a faculty member. So we have Dr. Daniel Kempton, who's the Dean here. Okay, so here's that featured image, the source URL. Okay, so the source URL is definitely what we want. The URI is not helpful to us, so let's get rid of that URI. I definitely want to try to put in term names. Let's try this details. I want to try media details. Okay, and we have subfields here to see what that'll give us. sizes. Yes. All right, let's do that. Media details, sizes, and oh, we have more. So let's say size. This might be what we need. Media sizes. Yeah, let's go with source URL for our sizes. This might be exactly what we were looking for. Okay, so all right, check this out. So here's our source URL. Let me make this bigger so hopefully y'all can see. So our source URL for our featured image is going to be the full-size image as is, like as it was uploaded. So that's almost always going to be not what we want because it's going to be too big. But then when now this setting can be adjusted in WordPress, right? But usually by default, depending on your theme, it's going to be as soon as you upload an image to WordPress, it's going to take that image and break it down into multiple sizes. So in this particular case, this image has been broken down into 3 sizes. So this is like your thumbnail, like your small thumbnail, 100 by 100. A little bit larger thumbnail, 150 by 150. Now, of course, this also involves some cropping, right? Because the original image is probably not square. I don't remember what it is actually. But your thumbnail is always going to involve some cropping. And then we have this other source that's, I'm assuming, smaller than the original image, 300 by 293. So depending on the original image, you may have even more sizes. So it could be that the original image here is just not that big, so it only gave us 3 sizes. But if you happen to have a really large image, you may get a bunch of sizes. Now what we can do here is, let's see, file width, height, source URL, reference size, name. Let's throw a name in here as well, because right now this doesn't really help us if we wanted to use that, right? How do we know which one is the best size? So I'm hoping that name will give us some insight if we add name in here. There we go. So it says thumbnail, medium, and then this one is the 2017 thumbnail avatar. So this is that theme specific. So WordPress themes can do a lot, and in particular this 2017 theme that is the theme that we currently have activated. We don't really need it, so we may end up deactivating it at some point, but for whatever reason the 2017 theme needed 100 by 100 images. So it's adding in another automatic cropping, resizing point for these images, right? So like I said, this source file is probably not that big, so it only gave us medium, but potentially we could have lots of different ones, small, medium, large. I'm not sure if there's one above that, but I've seen a lot more, and like I said, these are customizable, so we may end up going in at some point and making our own custom image sizes. We don't really have a use for it right now, but I could see that happening in the future. But anyway, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need, and what this will allow us to do then is look for our image sizes. If we have an image size that would work better, let's say we want medium, we'll use medium, and then we'll probably end up using media queries for this. Let's see how this will work. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. This is going to be interesting because normally I would use media queries for this. No. What am I thinking? We're going to use source set for this. Source set. Why am I thinking media queries? Okay, I just saw a question here. It's a good question. Michael Creel says, did these new categories come automatically from WordPress, or is it something the student workers did? So all the student workers did was upload a featured image. The breaking it down into these different sizes, that happened automatically from WordPress. Okay, so I can't I think there are some automatic sizes that happen with WordPress, but then there are usually some that are custom that come with your theme, and then you can customize it even further if you want. Usually there's nothing in the UI of the admin panel that lets you do that unless you get a plugin. So it does involve some PHP. All right, but this is awesome. I think this is everything we need. So I mean, we'll find out if it's not everything we need. But for now, I'm going to copy this and add it here. So right after our content. Whoa. What's wrong with this here? Unexpected tab character. Alright, so it's just a formatting thing. I think we're fine. Alright, cool. So now that we have this, let's test it out and try to grab one of these pieces of data. Oh, you know what I didn't check? That value for the CV field. Okay, cool. That does work. I just wanted to make sure that this value is giving us a URL. And it is, so that's awesome. And notice what our URL is. It's not pointing us to our WordPress site. You know, that's at wp.franciscan.university. This URL is pointing us to our Google storage bucket, right? Because we set that up. I think we set that up on the stream. But anyway, we set it up so that anything we upload to WordPress goes automatically to Google Storage, and it is served from there. So nothing stays on currently our DigitalOcean droplet that houses that WordPress installation. And we don't have a database on that droplet either. So I may keep our WordPress installation on that droplet because at this point it's so lightweight, it may work. We'll see. The other option that I've thought about is hosting it with Next. Michael says, my beautiful query. Yeah, the query is quite a mess now, right? It's just, yeah. We could work with query fragments if we wanted to make it look a little bit cleaner, but I'm okay with this for now. One thing we may end up doing though is like this featured image. This is a really good candidate to be a fragment because we're probably going to reuse this for other queries. So at some point we'll probably do that. If in GraphQL, a query fragment is basically like pulling out a piece of a query, making it a variable, and then all we'd have to do is just pop that variable in instead of having all of this. Okay. All right, my timer's up for that Pomodoro session, so let's take a short break. I'm doing a lot of explanations, so we're not moving that fast. For those of you who are pretty advanced, apologies for that, but I don't want to lose the beginners. And if you're a beginner and you're kind of lost here, feel free to ask any questions. You know, I'm doing my best to try to explain, but I'm probably missing a lot of things. All right, so first question, way from the very beginning of the stream in the first minute here is Kim Chun says, what laptop do you suggest for a beginner? It kind of depends on your budget. So I really like my MacBook Pro. I think it's a 2015. It was the last model that had the full HDMI port. So that was important for me because I didn't want to buy adapters for HDMI stuff. I really like it. I've heard that people aren't as happy with the newer models of the MacBook Pro. So I don't know, but I don't have personal experience with it. My wife has a regular MacBook, and that's fine for her. She does JavaScript, Ruby, and like blockchain development stuff on it. So that works. It does kind of depend too on what you're trying to run. Sorry for the yawn. So I think you're good with those options, but they can be pricey. There's so many different options with PCs. I don't even know where to begin to give you advice for that. If you want to go the less expensive route, you could try getting a Chromebook and then setting up a cloud development environment, like through something like Cloud9, and then you'd have a really cheap operating system that doesn't get bugs or malware or anything like that, and you'd be able to log into your dev environment from anywhere. I mean, there are advantages too, but so if you're looking to spend the least amount of money to get into it, I would go with the Chromebook, and then you can always invest later on. Like, I didn't get my MacBook Pro till I picked up a client, and the cost of the MacBook Pro was only like 10% of what I was making on that project. So I thought, all right, fine, like this is going to help me out with this project, so I'm going to go for it. So if you're just starting out and you don't have any high-paying clients yet, you may not want to go straight for the MacBook Pro unless you have a lot of money lying around. That's my advice. Steven says, if you don't want to spend a ton of money, you could go with a MacBook Air. Okay, I forgot about the Air. So the MacBook Air is less expensive, but still more expensive than you're going to pay for a Chromebook, for most Chromebooks. Sabin says more RAM and a solid state drive is good. Yeah, that's true. If you're gonna go like the PC route or Linux and like really customize and like pick exactly what you want, make sure the solid state drive is really nice to have, and more RAM is always better than less RAM. All right, Benny says, can someone give me an explicit description of what component did update does? Also, I think I had a condition when I set that it kept running repeatedly. All right, you know what? There's some of those lifecycle methods that they're kind of getting rid of. Is component did update one of those? I don't think component did update is one of the old ones. I think you can still use it. I mean, like it says, and from what I remember, without looking it up, I'd probably look it up myself if I had that question decided to explain it. So I'm just saying it's not fresh in my mind, but component did update goes off. Whatever you put in there will run after the component updates. So something changes in state, re-render happens, right? If component needs updated, it updates, and then that runs. I mean, I don't know if that's an official sounding explanation there, but I mean, I would probably look it up in the React documentation. They do a good job of explaining usually what things mean. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and do another Pomodoro session. After this session, I'll answer all the questions that are left. So we're just gonna do one more session today, so that you all, if you want to, have a chance to catch that next stream about Alexa skills. Okay. So we have our data, we have what we need. Let's make sure that we can actually get that data and display it on the page. Let's see, I guess we can get that display name field. Yeah. All right, so let's look at what we already have, because we're already in, make sure I save that. In faculty.js, we're already bringing that data in, so you don't have to go through that process. We're using the Apollo query component, and we pass it a query prop, tell it what query we want to use, and then we pass it the data. In this case, it's the type that we're pulling from the URL. It goes through our routing function in server.js, and it sends it here. So down here, currently, all we're getting is content, and so up here we have data, this props type dot edges 0, right? So that's how we've gotten the data that we need. Let's see, data this props type. Why do we have result here? What are we using it for? Oh, okay. We're using it up here. That's weird. Faculty. Oh, okay. I see why we're doing it like that. So this is more like a universal code. So we're not explicitly saying faculty here. We're using the type. So potentially this component could be reused for other stuff. It's about to get really specific, so probably won't be able to anymore. But let's go our content node dot content. So we're going to edges 0, and we should be able to dot node dot content. So let's make let's say faculty equals, trying to avoid having to type all this stuff in. Alright, so now let's add in a div, and let's do an h1 and say what do we have? Faculty dot, I can't remember what we called it now. Display name field. Dot value. Alright, so if I've done this right, this should tell us, this should give us that value of the display name field. And what did I do? I forgot my closing div. Okay. Alright, let's check it out. Yay, here we are. Dr. Susan Poyo. Cool. So now we know we can get the data, pull it in. So now it's just the time to build this component out. And we'll build it out, we'll style it a bit, and hopefully it looks nice. And you can see after I've added that I in our regular expression to make it case insensitive, it has now changed how this looks. Still looks pretty terrible, but at least we can see the content now. So I'm definitely going to have my student workers clean up this markup manually. It'll free up time for us to build out more components and things if we don't have to mess with trying to work around this kind of really terrible markup. All right. So for right now, let's just get the date on the page, and then we'll style it. So let's try this this image next. This one's going to be fun. Well, let's see if Material UI has anything to do with images. Do they not? They have an image avatar. So do they not have an image? Yeah, this is not what we need. Okay, that's fine. Just wanted to double check to see if they had something built out for images. So we're just going to use source set, and it's been a while since I've actually typed out source set, you know, from scratch and not just copy and pasting. So let's check out the MDN article about this. All right, so we're going to skip over the Y responsive images. We already know we want it. So let's check this out. Here we go. So here's source set. If you're not familiar with it, it's really cool. So you put in, like, it looks like a normal image tag at first, right? Starts out the same, but then we, instead of just our source and then, you know, our alt or whatever we put in here, we have more properties, more attributes. So we have the source set, and in the source set we give it some more file names or URLs, you know, paths to our images. So each one of these corresponds to a different size image, and then we'd say what width this should correspond to. We have our sizes, which these are like media queries, right? They look like media queries. Okay. So note this uses W unit, not pixels you might expect. This is the image real size. Okay, cool. If you want, I'm going to paste this in the description if you want to read more about this. It's super useful, so you can check that out if you want. I'm just kind of skimming through this just to give me a refresher, so I make sure I use the right syntax. Basically, the only thing I'm taking from here is make sure that these are the actual image widths, and then space the width of the slot the image would take. Okay, and then this number is the screen width, but this number is the width that the image will actually need to take up. And I thought you could. Okay, so you can do viewport width. So that's good to know, because I don't always have set a certain number of pixels. It's usually like a percentage of the page. So we can use viewport width. We can't use the percent symbol, but we can use viewport width, which represents, you know, it's a number between 0 and 100, right? So that represents the same thing as percentage width, you know, basically. So we're going to probably use that instead of pixels here. But yeah, this is, so if you've never seen this in action, hopefully I can get it working, and it's so cool. It's just super useful. Last thing I want to check is, I guess that's it. Tools. Okay. All right, cool. So the nice thing is there's a fallback, and we notice we still have this source. So on older browsers, I'm not usually worried about older browsers, but it's nice to know. On older browsers, it'll just ignore this stuff and just load this. All right, so by default, here they're loading the largest version of the image. Okay, so, and I guess that's That makes sense, and then that way it'll be able to cover. It'll still look good no matter what, right? It'll take a little bit longer to load, but it'll look good since it's the largest image. All right, let's just copy and paste this whole thing and edit it as needed. Okay, here's the tricky part. We're not always going to have our images, right? So if we have, actually, I'm going to do lazy loading. Oh, what is this? John's saying React image will also take another component to do lazy loading along with using source set built in. All right, this is worth checking out because lazy loading is, it's actually on our issues list in GitHub right now. So maybe we can just add it in right now. It's just importing image from React image. All right, let's look it up quick. Let me see how much time I have. All right, you know what? Let's save lazy loading for another stream. I agree, and I think lazy loading is a good idea, but I don't think there's any way that I can do that and get the rest of these in. So, yeah, let's just wait for this. So, here's what we'll do. First things first, let's just replace some of these image files. Let's look up our schema again so we know how to get there. So what is this? Featured image, media details. So featured image source URL is going to be our default. And we're going to need to change these up to use that's weird. Why is it doing this? Oh, okay. I know why it's doing that. Because I need trying to use template literals straight in HTML, and that's not working. We need to go to JavaScript land for template literals to work. And down here, I don't actually need a template literal. All right, so here's what we need. Faculty featured image, right? Featured image source URL, right? Okay. And for this one, we're going to say we're going to use our template literal syntax here to put in faculty featured feature image source. Is it featured? Yeah, ed featured image source URL. Okay, so what this is going to do then is anything we put, if you're not familiar with template literals, we use this backtick instead of normal quotes, and then we can put a $, curly bracket, and then anything in between this opening and closing curly bracket is now JavaScript. Okay, so it allows us to do cool things within strings without having to concatenate a lot of stuff together. Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's put in, let me just copy and paste this really quick. And let's see, faculty feature source URL. So instead of source URL, we want to go to this media details, sizes, media details, sizes. I'm probably going to want to take these out and make them variables at some point, because this is going to get crazy in a second. Sizes dot filter, and within our filter we're going to say image dot name, oops, oops, all right, well, this image dot name equals thumbnail, and then for this one we're going to say image dot name equals medium. What is this? There you go. Okay, and then for our widths, we can actually go in here and say, along with our name, we're going to say, oops, that's not exactly what I want. I want to return image name equals thumbnail, and then if we do have the image name equals thumbnail, then we want to return image dot source URL. Is that gonna work? No, it's not. What am I doing wrong here? Alright, help me out. Filter should automatically then return anything. Alright, do I need to add a map onto here then? Is that my problem? So filter's going to return anything that fits that. So I need to put dot map. And then dot map is going to be image, and we'll return source URL. Expected token. Michael says, you really need to see how the images look on each screen width before doing this. Yeah, I know. I just want to get it in here first. We'll get some images in just to see what's going on, and then we'll adjust it. But what did I just do here that messed this up? All right, our filter, factory sizes filter, images, dot map, should be image. Why can I not do that? I'm pretty sure I have some syntax error going on here, but I don't know what's happening. Is it mad because I'm trying to do all this inside of a template literal? Yeah, I mean, this is a bit much. Let's take this out and do const thumbnail equals Are we still getting this? Oops. You're right. I put equals equals. Thank you. Actually, this is a case where using this font actually was not helpful. So, Johnson, I think Jesse likes to see how many lines of code he can get into one file before he breaks VS Code. Yeah, when I'm just doing things, I definitely throw in like everything. But this is gonna end up being much cleaner, so I think it's fine that we pulled this out. And so now we can do the same thing for the next one and call this medium. And go for the medium size here, and then we can get rid of all this. Great. And we put in, let's go width. Let's see if we can get a width here and what value we get. I'm hoping it's just a number. Yes, all right, just a number. So this width will tell us how wide the image is. So then here, where we're supposed to say how wide the image is, we can just pop in that value for width. So yeah, we're gonna want to this is gonna end up getting a little bit complicated. Set a source URL. Here we go. Image width. And so then down here we can say what was it? Thumbnail width, and this is getting so crazy. Medium width. All right, excellent. For our source URL, we can also do this. Let's see. I believe media details width. Yep, media details width. Wow, this is 400 width. So it's not a really big image. So we can go in here and say image width equals and this is going to be faculty featured image media details. This one will be a lot easier. Width. Okay, wonderful. Oops. Image width. Okay. I just want to see this on the page. No syntax error, no closing tag for the image. All right. I noticed that at first and then went through a lot of stuff. No, image is not defined. Where's image not defined? Where am I using image? Oh. Oh. You know what I just thought too? I hope that Susan Poyo's profile actually does have a medium size and a thumbnail size. Yay, it worked. Alright, cool. It worked. And we should be able to get different images now. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe it's just falling back to the source. Let's see what we have. Oh, I know what happened. We actually need to put all of this stuff beforehand. This is gonna make it just a little bit more complicated. Okay, so here's the problem. It'll be easier to see over here. So for the source URL, we're getting the full URL, so that's why that's still working. But for these ones, and the source URL for our smaller sizes, we're not getting the full URL. Not only that, but we're not really getting enough to do this right. So this part here is going to be different. So it's not like we can just have this as a constant. So this is going to be so tricky. Alright, let's check out sizes again and see what we have to work with. File. Alright, let's see what file gives us. Same thing. What else do we have? Name, file width, height. We need the full URL. How can we get the full URL? Okay, we could do a regular expression that gave us everything before the last slash. Could we? Could we not? Could we do that? And then that's going to be our URL that we use. And we will prepend that onto here. Oh, good idea. Nikki says, see if featured image lets you query for base URL or something. All right, cool. Let's go back here. I'll take instances off the cache. Okay, yeah, we don't have that, so I think probably our best bet would be regular expression or something that would give us just what we need up to here, and then we could use that down here and add that in right before our thumbnail file name. Okay. My timer went up, and yeah, we have about 15 minutes before the other stream starts, so I'm going to go back to the chat and answer some questions. So I definitely didn't get it finished. This source... using the source set on this image tag definitely took up a lot more time than I had hoped. So we didn't get all the fields in, but we definitely got through the most difficult of all the fields. The rest are just text. One of them is a download, but we just need one URL for that and not all these multiple things going on here. So that's what we do. We just go down through and add in this data and then style it. So what I'm thinking for styles is on mobile, it's going to be, you know, Dr. Susan Poyo, probably the image after, and then it'll have the title, phone number, email, and then a link to download the curriculum vitae. The only change I might make is if I'm going to have the title at the top, maybe I'll have her, if I'm going to have her name at the top, I may have her title right beneath it. I mean, the other potential thing is, you know, what if we had the image first? I don't know. We'll have to see how it looks. But that's my idea. On a larger screen, I'd like to have the image here and then all the information, you know, right on the side. Or flipped around. I guess it doesn't really matter. We could have the image aligned either side. But otherwise it'll be side by side, so there'll be columns. So let me know what you think about those, I guess, the layout options in the chat. And now I'm going to go back to the live chat, and I need to find where I left off. I do not remember. Oh, cool, I found it. Okay, Michael Creel's asking about how Chrome auto formats JSON. Says Firefox dev does it automatically. Does Chrome have an extension? It does. All right, Nikki says JSON Formatter is the Chrome extension that does that. Is that what I'm using? Yeah, JSON Formatter. That's what I use. So that's how we get, where's it at? This. So this is JSON. Normally it would just be all together and nearly impossible to read. This makes it look pretty. Steven says, gotta miss a stream, have a creative meeting for the next hour. I will come back and see if you're still on later. Oh, well, good luck with your meeting. And thanks for being here for as long as you could. Oh, Michael had mentioned using an ID for the key in the map. Yeah, you know what? I probably will need to use... Am I using map anywhere? No, actually, I don't think I will need it. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about this. Maybe you're talking about something else. But since it's not actually HTML that's coming out, I don't think I'll need it. It's just being saved to a variable, just as a string. All right, so Eric Zorn says, hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. Harshit says hi. Hey, Harshit, how's it going? Harshit, I did go ahead and I canceled that Zeit account we were using for JavaScript AF. So I think we have like at least 20 more days of it if we need to do anything with it. It's the account's not completely canceled. It just dropped down to the free tier instead of the whatever tier we were on. John says, what happens if one or more of those endpoints does not have an image URL? Does GraphQL return an error or fail? All right, that's actually interesting. What happens if we try to get data that it isn't there? I'm gonna have to look into that. I will. I would hope it would just return the rest of the data, but to tell you the truth, I don't remember what happens. It's hard to believe that I haven't had that situation come up yet, but that's a really good question. Definitely need to test that out. Okay, Michael says, I think you get a null value. Okay. Oh, Harshit said it had to go for dinner time. See you, Harshit. Actually, I'm super hungry right now. I could go for something. It's lunchtime right now, so for me. And Harshit recommends using React Image as well. Gia says, I'm new here, and I want to ask, is this project for work or is this a side project? This one is for work. Okay, cool. So Niki's saying that if we try to get some data with a GraphQL query and that data doesn't exist, it'll just return null for that piece of data. It won't throw an error unless we mark a field as required. So that's very good to know. But what we'll have to do is account for that in our React component. So we'll need to set up a check, for instance, with image to say if image is not equal to null, then try to render this. Otherwise don't render it, because then we could actually end up getting an error. Even if we don't get it from GraphQL, we'll get it here in our component. So I had intended to put checks like that in, but for the sake of time, I thought, well, we'll leave that off. And if we get an error, at that point, it would kind of almost be like a better teaching moment to say, okay, let's fix this error. On MPG says, I'm a beginner and trying to follow. All right, awesome. Yeah, definitely ask as many questions as you need to. I'll always try to do my best to explain things, but I'm sure you have other questions. What I just explained about handling null values, you all just are talking about in the chat, so you all know. I don't have to tell you. You all know how we handle that. Oh, okay. Niki's saying that we could have used array.find. Yeah, you know what? I don't use .find often, so it didn't even cross my mind. But that's a good idea. So instead of doing the filter. I'm interested, would there be any performance benefits to using find instead of filter? If so, I could definitely switch that up. If not, then I may just end up leaving it as filter because that works. I see that Niki said you need to pass a callback function and then do the equality check, and Niki said that way earlier than I figured it out. So thanks, Niki. Sorry I didn't look over in the chat. The chat was pretty busy today, so it was tough for me to try to keep up when I was coding. I see a lot of you noticed my double equal sign in the arrow function, which of course doesn't work. Thank you for letting me know. Phoenix says, wouldn't it be better if the image is in the center? Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get the image on the page there, but you're right. There's definitely some styling that could happen there that would make it look better. Michael says, can you set up a constant base URL and then append a file name to it? Well, yeah, that's what I'd like to do. The problem with the URL is just that it's not. So this part of it would remain the same no matter what, for all across the board for everything that ever gets uploaded. But this part here, this 2018 and then 06. These are folders, and it's based on the year and the month that particular piece of content was actually uploaded. So these will change. So I need some way to get these values. So right now, these values aren't here. They're only on this source URL. So that's why I need some way to just get this. And if I just get that, then of course I would have it, and I could just, prepend it to the source URL down here, and everything should work out. So that's the thing. So I'm thinking regular expression might be the way to go here to pull this piece, but I'm not sure. Michael says, I know it's a design question, but I'm wondering why the CV link needs to be in a prominent position. It's like putting an employee's resume at the top of their company's link. Yeah, you know what, you're right. The CV in the current website is towards the top, but you're right, it doesn't need to be. And we just left it there because we pulled in the markup as is. But maybe it would be better at the bottom. Maybe the first thing. Maybe we don't want to show users a link to download a PDF right away. Actually, I kind of like that idea of putting it at the bottom. Because I'm a big proponent of not using PDFs online if you can avoid it, because if you'd make that HTML instead of in a PDF, it would be, I don't know how screen readers handle PDFs, but I know they can handle HTML, so it'd be better for that. It would also be better for search engine optimization, for searching. So, whatever's in that PDF is not going to show up in our search on the site. It's not going to show up in a Google search, right? Google search does not actually scan through PDFs. Unless they've started doing that now and I don't know about it, right? So that content is essentially locked away. So if we can avoid using the PDF completely, I'd be okay with that. But if we can't avoid it, putting it down the bottom, I guess would be okay. And it's just it's a better user experience to be able to just go right to the page and get the info. I can't stand, especially when I'm on my phone, I go to somebody's website, usually like a restaurant website, and I go to the menu page and it doesn't tell me the menu. It just says, here's a PDF. Then I have to download the PDF on my phone, open it up, and read it. I may not even go to the restaurant. I'm just trying to see what they have. And then I've got this restaurant's PDF on my phone until one day when I finally decide to go into my downloads folder and clean it out. Anyway, alright, sorry about my PDF rant. Let's go back to the last. World says, what's the benefit of using server-side rendering like Next.js? Niki says SEO and performance, so search engine optimization and performance. Yeah, for sure. That's the answer. There may be some other benefit, but those to me are always the big two. Okay, Niki says find has better performance than filter. So filter loops over everything in the array, find stops after it finds a match. Alright, okay, that's definitely cool. What time is it? I'm crossing over into the other one, so I just want to see really quick. I don't know what the syntax is for find. Can I just replace find with this? It's worth a shot, and I can't do it. Alright, I'll switch it back for now, and then I'll just look up find on MDN. I didn't think it would work, but stuff like that's always worth a shot, because if it works, it saves you a lot of time. Niki says, for this use case, the performance difference would be extremely small, though. Just training that ES6 array methods muscle. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's cool. If I get it in there and it works, then great. But it's probably not going to really make a difference, a noticeable difference. But it'd be good to use the better of the two. Christopher Brown says, why not embed the PDF and have it like an accordion? Yeah. Is there some type of, I'm assuming there's some type of React plugin that can easily help us embed a PDF. I'd be open to that. We do it elsewhere on the site for other types of content. So we use this service to do it, though, called Calameo. But if there was something in React that would work, I'd be open to that. Still not quite as good as the HTML is doing in HTML, but it's better than having to download the PDF. All right, Michael Creel said, so everything before the last slash. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly right. So we just need, yeah, everything before the last slash, we need to save that and use that as the base URL. Oh, okay. Niki says you wouldn't need the additional map since find will return that element, not an array. Oh, okay, cool. So that'll actually clean things up quite a bit. So I'm definitely going to try to use find because it's going to have the added advantage of cleaning that up because it looks a mess right now. All right, Michael Creel says screen readers don't handle PDFs at all. Okay, that's good to know. And you know what? If I can try to push to have the professors put that content from the PDF into their profiles instead, I can use that as a really good reason for screen readers, right? I mean, who's going to argue against trying to make things accessible? You're going to look like a terrible person if you don't care about, people who are blind or vision impaired not being able to have your content. So that's an automatic loss of the argument, right? World says the menu PDF, classic, LOL. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of restaurant websites that are so terrible. Especially when I travel, I look up restaurants more often than I do when I'm at home. And sometimes I just want to say, like, I'm just going to go to this restaurant and say, like, do you want me to make you a website? Right? Like, but then I talk myself out of that because that would be a terrible idea. I'd be doing these tiny websites for restaurants and probably not making that much money. It would just be a big hassle. But I just, they're so bad. I just want to do it sometimes. Oh, okay, cool. So Niki's giving me some code here. We may as well do it right now. This will be pretty simple. So let's replace all these filters with find. And then inside the find, I guess that would work. But then we don't need map anymore. So let's get rid of this. Whoa, what just happened? There we go. So, why is this not working? Alright, cool. Let's see if I did that right this time. Definitely cut this down a bit, so I really like that. Cool, it worked. And we can verify that actually. Let's see. Yep, it works. So we have these here. Awesome. Niki, thank you for that. I like that. That's a lot cleaner. Michael says, Christopher Brown, do you work for Adobe? So Christopher keeps on talking about the PDF. So let's see. Chris says about to start going to Boise CodeWorks because I couldn't get anyone to hire me, having just done freeCodeCamp and a pro bono site for my school. All right, cool. Yeah, good luck with your learning and with your job search. All right, cool. Got through everything in the live chat. If I missed your question, I'm really sorry. Please put it in the comments below this video or DM me on some social media platform. Thank you for all the help. Definitely it was very helpful, a lot of the suggestions that you had, and I don't know if I'll finish this component on tomorrow's stream or if I'll finish it up myself off stream. We'll see. But we'll probably still be working in React tomorrow. Probably stream again around the same time as we did today. So thanks again for everything, and thank you for watching. I'll see y'all tomorrow, and until then, have a great day. I got signed out of YouTube somehow, and so the stream keeps going. All right. How did this happen? All right, now I'm gonna stop streaming for real. Let's see if it works this time.